have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast.
Louisiana are all around.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. You know the drill on Tuesdays by now. Glenn West coming up in 30 minutes. Sharif Ishak at the bottom of hour number 2. With Glenn, we'll talk about the LSU guys in the NFL draft. We will certainly talk LSU baseball as they had to Hammond to play Southeastern in the midweek. And with Sharif, we'll talk a lot about the Saints draft and what he saw from his time down there at WDSU covering the black and gold. Plenty of other things to get to as well. I want to check back in on my bold predictions for the baseball season that we made the second week of February, see how those are shaking out. Pro Football Focus graded the quarterbacks returning to college football. Give you some of my thoughts on that in hour number 2 as well. And we'll preview LSU and Southeastern coming up. I want to start with an article I read today that I don't think, when you see the name of the author, is going to excite people around LSU too much, the LSU fan base. Most folks who follow LSU and are incredibly passionate about college baseball are not huge fans of Keith Law. I get it. I'm also, and I disagree with a lot of things that Keith says. I think his agenda is skewed one way, and in his eyes, there is no benefit in trying to win college baseball games, and that's detrimental to your future in most cases. And he's very slanted towards professional baseball and away from college baseball. And down here, we care who wins college baseball games, and I think Keith Law at times overextends himself. I thought when Keith Law threw a fit when Kevin Gausman pitched the end of Game 1 of the Stony Brook Super Regional, which was resumed in the 9th inning and then came out to start Game 2 an hour and 20 minutes later, I didn't think it was a disaster for his professional career. Fast forward, it's not. I thought that he was a little heavy-handed when talking about Mississippi State a couple of years ago and their usage of pitchers in the College World Series. But that's not really important. That's not what I'm here to talk about with Keith Law. But if you don't know who Keith Law is, he has spent time at ESPN. He has spent time in Major League front offices. He is among the more respected MLB draft and prospect graders. And he travels in the spring and certainly in the summer to the Cape, but a lot in the spring to see some of the more high-profile players in the country who will be selected early in this Major League Baseball draft that comes up in the summer. And this past weekend, Keith Law came to Baton Rouge. And he saw Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz, and then obviously commented on Trey Morgan as well as Jordan Thompson, and then Tommy White, who's in next year's draft. And I got to tell you, this was eye-opening for me. Keith Law's job is to be very critical. It doesn't do anybody any good when grading prospects to go out to a college game or a high school game and go, man, this guy's batting average is like 390. Like he's really good. I can tell you that. I just sit in this chair for 2 hours a day. I know who's good. His job is to point out flaws and project what a player may be that you're going to invest lots of money in. So his job is to be critical. He's going to point out more flaws than he is going to point out more strengths. The strengths are obvious. Everybody knows Dylan Cruz is a really good hitter. Everybody knows Paul Skeens is a really good pitcher. His job is to be critical. I lay all this out to tell you that he was impressed. And the entire article is behind the paywall at The Athletic. I continue to tell you that I think The Athletic does really good work, and I read it every day, and it brings me some information that I don't necessarily get all the time. And so Law, and I'll read some snippets from this piece talking about Cruz and Skeens, said, Skeens has gone from sitting 92-95 with his above-average slider to becoming the hardest throwing starting pitching prospect I've ever seen. And he's the only pitcher who's in the mix to go first overall in July. He said Skeens started out like a house on fire Friday night, sitting 99-101 with a plus slider at 86-90. I'll continue to read from this story as I scroll down and grab these quotes. There is nobody close to Skeens among pitchers in this class, and the fact that he even throws strikes with this kind of stuff, even if you only give him credit for being 96-99, would make him 1-1 in most years. Steven Strasburg and Garrett Cole would top out at 100 with better breaking stuff than Skeens, and they went 1-1. Mark Appel had left stuff, and he went first overall, aside from Hunt Palmer. Thank goodness, because that let Chris Bryant drop to the Cubs at 2. Shout out there. We'll continue on. I think it's fair to say to project a number one starter ceiling for Skeens with some projection to the changeup and obvious hope that he stays healthy, which some guys have with this kind of stuff. Cole and Verlander come to mind. He's comparing Paul Skeens to Garrett Cole, Steven Strasburg, and Justin Verlander in this piece, and says that he's the hardest throwing starting pitching prospect he's ever seen. There have been guys that throw harder, but they come in for one inning and they throw it as hard as they can. Think last year when you're talking about up there at Tennessee, when you got Ben Joyce throwing 103 miles an hour. Guys have thrown harder than Paul Skeens, none that project as starters, and Law projects him as a number one starter. That is not very common in Keith Law's world. It's easy for us to sit back here and say, yeah, he can be an ace. It's easy for us to look at Aaron Nola. I can promise you I haven't seen Keith Law's piece on Aaron Nola, even though I'm sure you could go back and dig one up. I bet you he said he projects as a middle-of-the-rotation starter because Aaron didn't throw super hard. He threw hard enough, but he surpassed that ceiling. Plenty of guys do. Every team's got a starter that starts on opening day for him. But to project Skeens as a number one is heavy, heavy talk. I'm telling you, I read enough of Keith's stuff, and again, his job is to be hypercritical. So for him to lump him in with those guys and to suggest that he's comparable and even in some cases more talented should tell you a lot about the guy LSU's got at the top of its rotation. And then Law continued in this piece. Skeens has the misfortune to play with a position player who has an even better argument for going first overall, however, as LSU center fielder Dylan Cruz homered and singled on Friday to raise his season line to 485, that's batting average, 635, that's on base, and 853, that's slugging. He said, oh, wait, that actually lowered his on-base percentage as he reached base 3 times in 5 trips to the plate. Imagine going 2 for 4 with a walk and 5 total bases, and it doesn't improve your triple slash line. Law continues that Cruz was a potential of first rounder in 2020, but started his senior year with more swing and miss, and we knew that. But he continues to say in this story, he's done nothing but rake since arriving in Baton Rouge, showing plus bat speed, excellent ball strike recognition, and solid plate coverage. He almost never misses fastballs and has shown power the other way, including a home run Friday off a 91-mile-an-hour fastball. Now, I'll tell you, he did say in this piece that Cruz struggles a little bit with sliders, and he whiffed a couple on Friday, which is the game that Law was at. And he's got worse numbers against sliders in and out of the zone than other pitches, which would be fastballs and changeups. But he says he can probably end up in center field unless the team's got a really, really plus defender in center field. And Law continues here one more time. The common refrain this year when I ask scouts and execs about top players is, I don't know how Pittsburgh doesn't take Cruz. I've read enough of these with Keith Law. The Cubs have picked at the top of the draft here for 5 or 6 years because they've been in a rebuild. I'm reading draft prospect stuffs. I mean, we know when LSU's got a really good one, and we read stuff on Jacob Berry last year, and Berry's flaws are a little bit more easy to pick out. He's not a great runner. He doesn't have a true position. You know, those kind of things can be issues. Of course, he's a switch hitter, and he does have plus power from the left side, and his bat to ball is unbelievable, and he had great productivity. But you're going to read more about those guys when they're critiquing, going, yeah, I don't love the true position. That's kind of the way that you look at things. For him to be so effusive in his praise of Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz just adds to what we already feel, but from the outside. A guy who literally showed up here to critique these guys and then comes back and goes, Skeens is Cole and Strasburg and Verlander, and Cruz is better than him. I mean, that's what the story says. That is really, really impressive. I'll offer a couple of, you look at some of I keep going back to the story because I think Keith Law's words carry more weight than mine. Joe, LSU fan, who sits here and talks about it. This is a guy who just came down to see him. He said, look, no one will ever question the Pirates for taking the best performing player in college baseball, not just this year, but in many years. Even out hitting the 2019 duo Andrew Vaughn and Adley Rutschman. Adley Rutschman is killing the ball in Baltimore right now. Vaughn's off to a bit of a slow start in Colorado. But he said, Cruz offers the promise of a quick path to the majors. There's zero value in sending him to A-ball in 2024, as it would probably represent a step back in the caliber of competition he's faced after 3 years in the SEC. Listen to that line, too. When you're talking about high school kids and whether or not they should come play in the SEC at LSU or go play in A-ball, Keith Law just said it. No one likes pro baseball more than college baseball than Keith Law. No one. And he's saying there's no point in sending them to A-ball because they're not as good as Alabama or Arkansas or Florida. Listen up. You can either go play in Pensacola or Helena, Montana or West Texas, or you can go fly on charter jets and play on ESPN and face better competition. I like that line. Said Cruz offers more safety than Skeens and perhaps no less upside because of the potential for a 70 hit tool. That's on the 20 to 80 scale, and 80 is as good as it gets. 70 is an all-star caliber player. So I thought that was really, really cool. If you want to hear the nuggets that Law had on Morgan, said he could go in the top 5 rounds. He's a slap hitter who profiles as a corner outfield bat. Good contact skills, but chases a little bit outside the strike zone. Said Thompson made several impressive defensive plays, and he stabbed a 109-mile-an-hour ground ball from getting through at one point, but he struggles against anything other than fastballs. So even with a 55 or 60 power, he doesn't project as a regular, meaning a regular starter in Major League Baseball. And then he talked about Tommy White. Said he's incredibly aggressive at the plate to his detriment, even though, like Morgan, he has a higher than expected contact rate on pitches outside the strike zone. Alabama's relievers exploited that weakness, got him with sliders, but he'll be a fascinating case in next year's draft because he has a high contact quality and low whiff rate model that teams crave, especially with that power bat. So you see, when we're talking about a guy who set the national freshman home run record and is hitting 370 this year with double-digit home runs, and Law's saying he struggles with sliders and he's a little bit too aggressive, and that's the type of language you usually hear when you see scouts go see players. There's none of it for Cruz and Skeens. None of it. It's amazing, and we are very, very lucky as fans to have those guys there. Tip of the cap to Paul Maneri and Nolan Cain for pulling in Dylan Cruz, and to Jay Johnson for going and grabbing Paul Skeens, because I like watching. I like being 15-5 and ranked first in the country, and that's certainly where LSU currently sits. Speaking of LSU, they're playing Southeastern tonight in Hammond. Get some things that I'm going to look for in that game down I-12 next. Glenn West, be with us in 15 minutes, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $15,000 off all new 2022 1500 SCA trucks. And all new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. LSU baseball hits the road to take on Southeastern. We're previewing Tigers and Lions. We'll continue our SEC spring recaps and draft reaction. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LSU hitting the road tonight in baseball. They'll head over to Hammond to take on the Southeastern Lions at Pat Kennelly Diamond at Alumni Field over in Hammond, America. 6:30 is first pitch time over there between the Tigers and Lions. Obviously, Southeastern has had such a strong baseball program over the last 15 years. It's just been really impressive to watch them do what they've done over there in Hammond. They've been to a couple of regionals. They certainly come to Baton Rouge for a regional and are usually in the mix. And this year it just hasn't clicked for them to this point. They're 19-21 on the season. They're 4-11 in conference play in the Southland and were swept over the weekend. So it's just not a Lion team that's quite found it to this point. So they'll certainly be keyed up for this one tonight as they get a chance to take on the number one team in the country on their home field. It doesn't look like a team that's ticketed for the postseason. Certainly they could get in and win their conference tournament, but this will be one of the bigger games they play all year. And for LSU, you've lost a couple of midweek games in a row. Hadn't hurt your resume really at all, and it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But hey, why don't you pick yourself up and go play a ball game tonight? Go run rule somebody tonight would be my goal if I'm LSU. Play play a solid and complete game. There are some things that I'll be looking for in this game, however, that I'd like to see. Paxton Kling returned. It's kind of unannounced. We're pretty well versed in this point in Johnsonese. You had to learn Milesese over with football for a decade and a half, and you get versed in Ogeronese at times. Like you kind of figure it out, and I think I've got Jay pretty well figured out from the outside. I don't expect big time announcements about when injuries are going to be healed and guys are going to be ready to go. Just like I don't expect very often to hear the guys aren't available. It's just he's going to keep that stuff close to the vest. And I didn't know certainly that Paxton Kling was available. And all of a sudden I look up and he's out as a defensive replacement over the weekend. And then he, obviously gets a chance to dig in and hits the ball over the wall and looked fine. He scored on a ball into the outfield. So he looked all systems go to me over the weekend. So I'll be looking hopefully to get Paxton Kling in the lineup tonight. I would love Gavin Dugas to sit. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love it. I'm fine getting Ben DePault some at-bats. I'm fine getting Jack Merrifield some at-bats. And I'm fine with Gavin Dugas sitting in the dugout, cheering on his teams, eating some sunflower seeds, and not further injuring his shoulder because he just doesn't look healthy or comfortable. I mentioned the stats yesterday. He's 4 of 26 since coming back from that injury. Got a couple of doubles and no homers. He was swinging the bat so great before that injury, and I just wonder if he could take. I mean, if it's me, I'd like him to take this week and the weekend off and just see what 10 days, maybe 14 days of not playing feels like. If the doctors are saying, hey, here's what's wrong with your shoulder, it's not going to get any better in the next 3 weeks, you're probably not going to hurt any worse, just go play and see how well you can play through pain, then okay, go play. It's fine. But if there's a way that some rest is going to help him out for when regional time comes, I'm just not going to send him out there, quite frankly, in games like this. But I don't expect that to happen. The catching offensive production has been so good for LSU in Neal's absence, far better than we could have imagined. I mean, obviously the theatrics of the two monstrous Travinsky home runs in Oxford and then again against Alabama on Saturday are the headliners, but Milazzo's been every bit as consistent, just not with the big flies because he's not going to do that. And he's getting bunts down, he's knocking in runs, he's moving runners. He's done a great job offensively, so I'll be watching to see if he can continue to kind of do that and continue to be productive as an offensive player. It's just not something we expected. That was always going to be gravy with Milazzo. He was going to be your guy that was your defensive catcher that maybe checked in the top of the seventh to help get the last 9 outs. No, and against the midweek pitching, certainly he can step in there and get it done. So I'll be looking to see that as well. LSU's defense has not been great the last month. I don't know. I think most have noticed. And here's what I think about LSU's defense. I think Tommy White's an average third baseman. I don't think he's a below average third baseman, which was very much a possibility when you brought him in from NC State. Now, I can rattle off a couple of guys who have been better defensive third basemen at LSU than Tommy White. Josh Smith is a freshman, Christian Ibarra, Derek Helenihi. They have had better defensive third basemen than Tommy White. Do I think he's a massive liability at third base? I don't. That's third base. Jordan Thompson is a little erratic throwing the baseball. He was solid early in the season defensively, making the plays he was supposed to, and at times he's been spectacular in making some plays defensively because he's got great range and a really good arm. But he's a little erratic throwing the ball. Gavin Dugas is probably a below average second baseman. He's not smooth with his infield action. His range isn't awesome. He's a little bit below average. And when you take Trey Morgan out of your infield and you put him out into the outfield and you put a converted catcher over there in Jarrett Jones, he's probably average or below average at first base. Now, they're not as good as their fielding percentage suggested through 8 weeks. They're not really bad, but I do think they're very average. You're average at third, you're a tick below average at second. Your range and arms are plus at short, but you're a little erratic with your throwing and accuracy. And then your first baseman is okay. And that's going to be who LSU is. And this is all wrapped into that thing that I was talking about yesterday where, yeah, the pitching doesn't look awesome, and it hasn't been awesome. but your offense is so good that it's just kind of helping you get through it. I'm not violently concerned that the defense is going to let LSU down in the biggest moments. I'm a little concerned, but as anybody would be, right? I mean, I think the best defensive team I saw LSU put out there in terms of just being solid was maybe the 13 team. That team had Ibarra, and that team had Bregman, and that team had Jacoby Jones, Ty Ross, and Stevenson and Laird, and like they were really good on defense. And so my concern level was almost no. And now that's a team that I'm probably digging too deep into the memory vault here, but in the marble game of the regional against Sam Houston, you made 3 errors in the first inning, gave up 5 runs, and Aaron Nola's pitch count was pushing 40. So that was the biggest point to that point in the season, and the defense did a little bit let you down because Ibarra kicked a couple ground balls. But that team had almost zero concern on defense. This team, it's not zero, but it's not like they can't catch the ball. That's how I felt middle of the SEC season last year. They can't catch the ball. They're not catching it short. They're not catching it at second. Your third baseman is converted outfielder. That was a concern. But all this roundabout talks was, let's play a clean game tonight against Southeastern. I'm usually going to say that on Tuesdays. When I get into keys to the weekend and we start talking about Auburn, I'm going to talk about their bullpen. I'm going to talk about guys to avoid in their lineup. I'm going to talk about bullpen arms that need to step up, whatever certain spot is. Tonight, when you go play Southeastern, just don't kick it around. Trey Morgan, don't drop a fly ball on the warning track. Jordan, make a solid throw across the infield. Don't skip it over there to Jones. And we'll see if Jay Johnson, I know injuries were a part of this over the last couple of weeks, but Ethan Fry got some run last week in a midweek game. That would be fine with me to get him out there and let him swing the bat. These are all things that you can work through, and it goes back to what I was talking about yesterday, where LSU is positioning themselves in terms of RPI, conference record, strength of schedule, road victories, all the metrics that you're trying to check off. LSU has put themselves in a spot with a comfort zone. So you can try some things tonight, whether it's sit Dugas, whether it's give Fry some run in right field, whether it's whatever bullpen guy you want to see extend a little bit. If you want to get Josh Stevenson in there to swing the bat a little bit. Like, you can do just about whatever you want. Just play clean. Don't kick it around. Don't strike out in big spots. It's an inferior team you're playing tonight in Hammond. Just play a clean baseball game. And that's kind of what I'm looking at. But I would like to see Paxton Kling in the lineup, and I would love to see Gavin Dugas take a seat. We'll see what bullpen arms get out there. There were some guys that were used back-to-back or 2 times on the weekend. Do they need a Tuesday off? That's tough for me to tell. But whatever guys go out there, throw some strikes. That's part of the clean game. Throw strikes. LSU and Southeastern tonight at 6:30. You can catch it on Eagle 98.1, our sister station. You'll have the pregame show crank up at 6 o'clock and first pitch from over there in Hammond, America at 6:30. We'll talk some LSU baseball with Glenn West next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Turn my music high, 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 yeah. You don't know what you're doing. Sure I do. I'm from the streets where the hood can swallow on me. Bullets will follow on me. There's so much that you could run the slalom. And cops comb this top to bottom. They say that we are prone to violence, but it's home sweet home. With personalities clashing, chrome meets chrome. prices up and down like it's Wall Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Jimmy out and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday edition of Game Time. Game Time from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. It's Game Time Tuesday night, 6 to 8 p.m. right here at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
1:30 on Tuesday. That means it's time to head to the Jim's Firearms Hotline and chat with our guy, Glenn West. Glenn, how we doing?
I'm fantastic, Hunt. Squeezed in a little golf yesterday and feeling really great. So
love to hear that. You a long hitter? You got a lot of leverage working there.
You know, I'm the kind of hitter that hits it as high as the PGA Tour players, but not as far as the PGA Tour players. I can't get it on a nice line. It's always way high in the air.
That's all right. Just continue to work at it. Enjoy the weather. That's what's important. All right. You were watching the NFL draft over the weekend. B.J. Ojulari, first Tiger off the board. What was your takeaway from LSU's draft as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably one of those drafts where it was not surprising. I mean, I think we kind of heading into last year, you probably expected a couple more of those guys to be in the day one, day two conversation, and just as it kind of panned out, that really wasn't the case here as the season wore along, and I think BJ was certainly the guy you expected to go first, and I think Anthony Bradford being the second pick out of LSU in the fourth round was probably a little bit more of the surprise to me. I just didn't really know what to expect with him in the draft process. But obviously teams liked him, but yeah, I mean, obviously you see Kayshawn slide down to the 6th. That was something that we had heard kind of maybe leading up to the draft might happen with him. And, you got a lot of players now that are going to try to work themselves onto rosters with free agent deals. And so certainly a unique draft, I think, for LSU. I think it's the first time since 2018 they didn't have a first-round pick. So, just a kind of bizarre draft for LSU. And I think, it's just one of those situations where the value really wasn't there for a lot of teams on the Tigers, I guess.
You'd be more surprised if Kayshon Boutte made a Pro Bowl or didn't make the Patriots opening day roster in his career.
Yeah, I would say probably leaning towards the first one there. I think, look, that ankle injury, you can kind of sugarcoat it all you want. I think that played a huge factor on him last year, and just didn't look like himself. He had 2 surgeries on that right ankle, and when you first saw that injury back in 2021, you didn't really know how severe it was, and you come to find out that it was a really, really bad fracture. And so it took him an extra year probably to start feeling like himself again, and we'll see if he can, get a better hold of his career now that he's in the NFL. But it's certainly one of those downward spirals that, in terms of just draft stock, that you just rarely see with a player. I mean, this was a guy we were talking about as a potential top 15 pick, kind of going into his last year. And, that really seems to have gone by the wayside, obviously, with the way things panned out.
Chatting with Glenn West, senior writer over at Go247 for all your LSU football recruiting, football, basketball, baseball, and recruiting needs. Go247 is your spot. All right, let's switch to baseball here. A big sweep for the Tigers, who have now put themselves in a really, really good spot at 15-5 in conference play with 3 weekends to go. Bigger story over the weekend, the bats continuing to erupt and get the sweep, or the starting rotation still kind of in flux after Paul Skeens?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm picking between the two, I would certainly lean towards the offense, and just I think they're really reaching its peak right now. I mean, I asked that to Jay Johnson after the game, and he said that, look, they're just in a really nice group because they haven't changed anything. I mean, their approaches and their discipline at the plate has remained consistent all year. Those players really have a good idea of their process and their approach at the plate. And you're seeing it, 33 runs here over these 3 games against Alabama last weekend. Didn't really look like there was a bat at bat. You're obviously going to get a couple here and there in a 3-game series, but just overall, really disciplined at bats. They were putting the ball in play, hitting the ball hard, and I thought just a really, really nice offensive approach. And, I also would probably say, with the pitching, go back and listen to the Hunt Palmer show on Monday. That was a really nice little breakdown. I went and listened to it yesterday, and Moscona also had a nice little spiel on his show as well. So that's my 104.5 plug. But I definitely think the one area I would add to the pitching is the free passes. That to me is the one area that you really have to clean up. Don't let other teams beat you. Don't let yourself beat you. That's the biggest thing. And offense. These teams that have really nice offensive weapons, they're going to get hits, and it's okay if they beat you through hits. But if you give them free passes, that's always going to make it tough. And if you ever get into a point this season where you're playing for your life, you're playing for the last game, free passes could certainly be the ultimate deciding factor there, whether you move on in the postseason or you get sent home. So I think that's probably one area where this pitching staff's really going to have to focus in on and really improve, because that's been something from really the top to the bottom outside of Paul Skeens that they've really struggled with.
One of the things I like having day-to-day beat writers on the show to talk about is just interviews that may go on a Wednesday afternoon, or even a Friday postgame or a Sunday postgame when guard kind of drops a little bit because the series is over. I wonder how much you've talked to Ty Floyd over the last 10 weeks and kind of what his demeanor has been throughout this season, because guys want to go out there and dominate. But as I said yesterday and you alluded to, like, they're not really asking to dominate. We just need you to get outs and let these guys hit behind you. And I'm curious I'm sure he doesn't say that, but what has Ty's outlook kind of been?
So, the last time I personally got to talk to Ty, it was after that 8 2/3 he had 2 weeks ago. So he was feeling pretty good about himself, and obviously he should have been. But I think it was one of those situations where we asked him also as part of that interview, kind of what you alluded to there, which is, how important is it for you guys to get deeper into these games and really kind of control, the bullpen a little bit and make it a little bit easier on those guys. And that was something that he went into a little bit of detail with, and how he was happy with the performance there on the road. The three starters were able to go that deep into that outing. But yeah, I mean, it's something where, I think there's lots of ebbs and flows in the season. You know that better than most. And, it was certainly tough to watch. I mean, he really struggled with his command this last weekend, couldn't get through the third inning. And you're looking at a situation there where, you really have to put a lot of pressure on your bullpen. And I think really the saving grace there was the offense being able to help you out and really put together a really stellar performance against Alabama. So, it's still a work in progress with this pitching staff. But, like you alluded to yesterday, it's like this everywhere in the SEC. And I don't think it's gonna stop anytime soon. So LSU's just got to, I think, work with what works with them, and that's the offense and just being one of the elite offensive we've probably ever seen here.
What do you think Javen Coleman's ultimate role in this team is?
Yeah, I think you've got to start working him into a little bit of a longer stretch. I mean, I would love it if you could get kind of a Griffin Herring kind of outing out of him where he can pitch once a week and maybe go 3 or 4 innings. That would really, really help your bullpen if you could have a guy like Griffin and then also Javen Coleman, both being able to give you 2 solid, 3-4 inning kind of backup roles to these starters. And that's really kind of an extra starter role there if you think about it, because if Floyd and Lil or whoever it is that's going to be pitching in those 2 and 3 spots can't get you through 4 innings, you really got to have somebody that can lengthen a little bit out of the bullpen. And I think that's the role that Coleman would fit in perfectly to. He had a really nice outing, very high strike kind of outing this last weekend, and really dominated, I think, in his performance. So you can kind of string together a couple of those weekends in a row. I think that's probably the best role for him kind of come postseason time.
A couple of good weekends in a row for Thatcher Hurd as well. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I think I wrote about this on Monday. I think that was probably the biggest takeaway for me on the pitching staff was Hurd going 5 2/3 between the 2 outings he had last week. He struck out 6. I think the walks were way down. I think he maybe had 2 walks between the 2 outings as well. I've said it a lot on this show. I've said it a lot just talking with other people, but Jay Johnson has said it really from the start of the season. If LSU wants to go where they want to go, Thatcher Hurd has to be a major important piece to that. And so it was really, really important to see Thatcher kind of get control of his command a little bit, really kind of, I think, build some confidence and momentum heading into these next couple weekends before postseason play. And we'll see if he can keep it up. I mean, if he can keep this up and you get another guy that you can really rely on, whether that's as a bullpen role or if he's able to really take back one of those starting roles, that is a absolute X-factor game changer for LSU come postseason time.
Do you think Jay is going, if things go the way we think they will the next 2 weeks, and that gives you 1 more week against Georgia in the SEC tournament, do you think Jay will use those as a ramp up to the postseason, understanding that their seat is their fate is sealed as a top 8, or do you think it's just we got to win the next game?
Yeah, I mean, he'll say it in front of the public that he just want to win the next game, but I do think there'll be some strategy there. If you get out of the regular season, you win these next 2 series, you kind of solidify and lock up that top 8 seed. I think it's probably important for you to pitch the guys that you're really going to be relying heavily on in that regional. So whether that's a guy like Christian Little or Thatcher Hurd, going to be big opportunities for those guys, I would imagine, early in that tournament. Maybe save Paul Skeens for later in the weekend if you make it that far. So yeah, I do think it's going to be one of those kind of situations where they throw a bunch of guys and see which ones stick and which ones they feel like they can really rely on, because that SEC tournament is different. It's so unique in the fact that it's almost like a regional, and you get to kind of pitch the matchups and pitch the situations, and the turnover is so short that you really have to figure out what it is that you're planning for, and so that's going to be a great kind of jump into the postseason for him, I think.
Thanks for your time, Glenn. We'll do it next week.
All right, Hunt. Thank you.
He's Glenn West, go247 for all your LSU sports and recruiting needs. Go247. Glenn does an awesome job. We appreciate him hopping on each and every Tuesday. Sharif Ishak with us in 45 minutes talking about the Saints and their draft. We'll close out hour number 1 next. I made 5 bold predictions for LSU baseball this year. Got a few weeks left here, but we'll see how I'm tracking with some of those predictions. One's by the wayside, but what do the other 4 look like? That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $15,000 off all new 2022 1500 SCA trucks. And all new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
On Wednesday's OTB, recap a little midweek baseball as the Tigers head to Hammond to take on the Lions. Plus, Matt Flynn stops by off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m. at 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's do a little check-in on my 5 bold baseball predictions. We made these the week of the opener, I think on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. I'll go back and pull the audio when the season's over, but I believe it was on Tuesday before the season started. I gave you my record prediction, which was 43-13, 20-10 in league play, which means that they would lose 3 midweek, or not 3 non-conference games. Right now, they have lost exactly 3 non-conference games. Just got to get through 3 more midweeks here. In the 56, unfortunately, we're not going to get the exact 20-10 because they lost the game to weather. But that was we're tracking pretty well on that side of things. But the more important thing I want to check in on is the predictions that I made about individual aspects of the team. The first one was that Chase Shores would make 10 SEC starts. By that time, I kind of checked in and had heard that there was a real chance that Shores could start on opening weekend, which he did. And I thought he would grab a rotation spot. I thought Skeens would be a guy. I thought Shores would be a guy. I thought Hurd. I thought that would be your 3 in the rotation. Turns out only Skeens remains of that. Shores goes down with an injury, but he wasn't going to start the first SEC weekend and didn't anyway, so that was going to be wrong. So throw a big next to that one, no good. I said that no one would have 8 saves for the season. As we sit here now on the 2nd of May, no one on LSU staff has more than 2 saves. Floyd's got a save, Edwards has a save, Ackenhausen has a save, Guidry's got a save, Herring's got 2, Little's got 2, Collins has 1, Hurd has 1. You get the picture. Nobody's emerged as a closer, and I kind of thought that they would just kind of do things by matchup. Now, at that point, you didn't know, or I didn't know, that you were going to be without Taylor for the year. I certainly didn't know that you were going to lose Edwards for the year and didn't know that you were going to lose Shores for the year. Things have tightened up a little bit, and I guess it's possible Griffin Herring could save 6 games the rest of the way. They seem to like to go to him late, and if he gets a multi-inning save, it doesn't even have to be a 3-run game. The scorer just has to say that he's done enough to earn the save if he goes 9 outs. So I think that one looks pretty good. That they only have 10 as a team because they're blowing people out. But I think that one looks pretty good that no one's going to have 8 saves on the season. Here's an interesting one for number 3. I said that LSU would sweep 2 series on the road. You got one. You got Ole Miss by the skin of your teeth. Now, you let one get away in College Station. You had a lead in the 8th inning of Game 3 after winning the first 2 games. Didn't get it done. But you have one. I need one more. They got Auburn and Georgia. I don't know if my odds are quite 50-50, but it's in play for them to get 2 road series. So that one looks okay. We'll see if they can get it done on the Plains this weekend. If not, you go to the last weekend of the year against Georgia. Another one that's going to be down to the wire, I think, is I have 6 guys hitting 10 or more home runs. LSU hasn't done this in a long time. And I thought they really had a chance to do so this year. So how many boxes can we check of the 6? Well, right now, Tommy White's got 15. That's 1. Dylan Cruz has 13. That's 2. Jared Jones has 14. That's 3. Gavin Dugas has 10. That's 4. So I need 2 more guys to get to 10 homers, and I think my best chances are with these 3 guys. Cade Beloso's got 8 on the year. Would have never guessed him. But he's got 8. I need 2 more from Cade. Jordan Thompson all of a sudden has 7. I think he got a chance there. I got to get 3 more. And Braden Jobert has 6 home runs. Those are, I think, the most likely. Now, Paxton Kling's got 4. Maybe he gets some more playing time, and maybe. But I just need 2 of those, and I guess my most likely would be Beloso hitting 2 more and Thompson hitting 3 more. Those 2 guys are playing every day. I think I'm looking pretty good there to get to that. And then the last one. Now, when I say this out loud, you'll say, that's not a bold prediction. That's the easiest prediction ever. Keep in mind, the Tuesday before the opener, I don't think this was a slam dunk. It is now. You can put it on ice. I'm home free. But it did not feel this way before Valentine's Day. I said Paul Skeens under 6 home runs. Under 5 home runs. We thought he was going to hit. And I got some wind in late January and early February that, maybe not. And then he goes out there and he's dominating teams. And then you got an injury with Tommy White diving back into first base. And I think that's all Jay needed to see. I don't know if his mind was made up pre-Tommy White injury on opening night, diving back into first base. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. If it wasn't, that did it. We'll find out when the dust is settled. But you see that on just a simple dive back into first base and his right shoulder goes, forget it. Forget it. So that one felt bold at the time. It turns out it was a slam dunk. So Shore's 10 SEC starts have no chance. That one's out. I think no one would get 8 saves. I think I got a good chance there. Sweep 2 road series. I think I have a good chance there. 6 guys to hit 10 home runs. I think I've got a good chance there. And Skeens is not going to hit 5. So I might go 4 for 5. They got to do it. It remains to be seen. They've got to go out there and do it. But I'm in a pretty good spot there with 4 of those 5 bowl predictions for the season. So that's hour 1 in the books. Excited to come back with you in hour number 2. Highest graded returning quarterbacks in college football coming up. Sharif Ishak will join us. And after Sports Center, a little check-in on the National Basketball Association. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.3.
Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. In the NBA playoffs tonight, the Knicks host the Heat in Game 2 of the East semifinals. Miami took Game 1 on the road. Our coverage starts at 7 Eastern here on ESPN Radio. Also tonight, Game 1 for the Lakers and Warriors in the West semifinals in San Francisco. Golden State's Draymond Green.
Stop trying to turn the page on us so fast. Stop trying to turn the page on Bron so fast. We get so caught up in what's the next thing that we don't appreciate the current. And then you get to the next thing and looking back like, man, I wish we still had that. I wish we could still see this.
Draymond Green. The Warriors are the 6th seed in the West. The Lakers are the 7th seed, but they're both still playing. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports Packers quarterback Jordan Love will get a 1-year contract extension worth up to $22.5 million. This deal will replace the 5th-year option on Love's rookie contract. Michigan State corner Charles Brantley pulls his name out of the transfer portal. He's now expected to stay in East Lansing.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. Fortunately, Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. It's a good thing, too, because having a home is hard work. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. Geico.com. Easy.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on this Tuesday. Coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. Hunt Palmer with you for one more hour before we hand off a baton to Matt Moscona. He will then hand it to Jimmy Ott. It's the way things go around here. Hope your work week's off to a good start. If you're looking for something to do tonight, how about Pluckers? Sports Trivia. 8:30, Nicholson location. They'll have LSU and Southeastern on. They'll have the NBA playoffs on. There will be one TV up in the corner with the Cubs on because that's my preference, and that's what happens when I have Sports Trivia over there at Pluckers. But it's always a lot of fun. Grab a team, come out at 8:30 and play some Sports Trivia. You can win gift cards, great drinks, awesome food, great time. Looking forward to getting out there to Pluckers tonight for Sports Trivia. Speaking of what will be on the TV at Sports Trivia, the NBA playoffs are on and cracking, and last night I thought was pretty compelling stuff. We'll start with the Sixers and the Celtics. I spent a lot of time on this show in the summer last year dogging James Harden, going, look at this guy. Like, this guy can't play anymore. He doesn't have the burst. He can't blow by anybody. He's turning the ball over. He can't shoot. This guy's a disaster. And he was. He was not very good last year in playoffs. And this year, turn on the TV last night, and the Celtics are as good as any team in the NBA. Certainly as any good as team left in the NBA playoffs. And the Sixers are playing them in Boston with no Embiid. And Harden's just cooking. I mean, they got him ISO'd up there. He's blowing by guys. Raising up above the rim. It's just a monster three right in Al Horford's face to give him a 2-point lead. And the Celtics' last 2 possessions were just hot garbage. One, they try to throw a kick out towards the 3-point line right into the 76ers' hands for a run-out dunk for Maxey. And then they try to get into a set, and they toss it down on the block to their third best player, who then tries to throw a forced shovel pass to Tatum on the. It was just awful. Awful basketball by Boston. So the question is, now that Philadelphia has won game one, do you feel like the Celtics are in trouble in the series? And I think the answer is yes. Now, keep in mind, it did take 45 from Harden to win game one, but that's without Embiid. And now that they've got the split they wanted, they can kind of let Embiid sit until Friday. Like, you don't have to rush him back for game two if he's not ready to go. You've got what you came for. You came to Boston to get a split, and you've already got it. I think that series is going to be fascinating. I think the Celtics will win it, but I think they are in trouble. In the Suns, I heard this stat from Colin Cowherd. I can't take credit for it, but the Suns don't win playoff games. They haven't yet, unless Kevin Durant and Booker combine for 70 points and 58% shooting. If they don't combine for both of those, they lose. And last night, they scored 14 points in the fourth quarter and lost a game in which they didn't crack 90 points in Denver. Jokic goes for 39 and 16. Pretty salty. But that's kind of the sideshow to me with these playoffs right now. Because to me, the best theater is in the games tonight. And I know that there will be a lot of y'all that are not locked on the NBA and don't love it and don't really get into it, but you're aware of the happenings that go on. And a lot of that portion of y'all might say, I'm so sick of Steph and LeBron. And I'll say, okay, that you have a right to that opinion. But I'll tell you this. Those two, to me, are unequivocally the face of this generation of basketball. The last 15 years of basketball, LeBron James and Steph Curry are the face.
I wonder if people got sick of seeing Magic Bird.
Yeah, and that is the point, yes. But people don't like LeBron, and people think Steph couldn't score in the 80s, which is laughable. And there's just, Steph's likable, and I think a lot of people like Steph. A lot of people don't like LeBron, but either way, they're it. It's not Giannis. It's not Wade. It's not Dirk. They're enough post-Kobe to where it's not Kobe. It's not Chris Paul. They're the face. They are what this generation was defined by. Durant is maybe the best scorer to ever play based on pure scoring ability. He's not the face. He's bounced to 20 different teams. Now, LeBron's done a little bit of that, but he's played on 100 teams, and he's only won with Steph. They're it. And so you've got another one here. You've got another matchup of two guys who will go down as two of the top 20 players in the history of basketball, and they're still really, really good. Do I think LeBron's in his prime? No. Do I think he's awesome? Yes. Do I think Steph has better basketball behind him than he does in front of him? Yes. Is he capable of going for 50 in a game 7? Yes. Like, that's good stuff. That, to me, is better than, whoever the Bucks Celtics. Like, it just is. That much history. And, in L.A., and Jack Nicholson was back over the weekend. And, there's just a little ump there. So, to me, I'm not totally sick of those two guys. I'll watch those two guys. And then kind of to loop back around to that juice point with Jack Nicholson being on the court and, what comes with being in L.A. and Crypto.com Arena, which still feels like it should be a Staples Center. But the Knicks and Heat will play tonight as well. And I got a chance one time on a trip up with family to New York to go to the Garden to watch the Knicks play. Now, they were terrible, and they played the Magic when Glenn Davis was with the Magic. And so it wasn't like a star-studded showdown. Melo was with the Knicks at the time, and he was the star, but the Magic didn't really have anybody. I think Oladipo was on the team, and it was not. It was just a random Wednesday night in Manhattan, and those two teams were playing. But seeing Madison Square Garden was cool to me as a sports fan. And it was kind of cool to me that when the Knicks were about to come out, they didn't play a huge Knicks video on the Jumbotron. They played a video highlighting how incredible and historic Madison Square Garden is. It wasn't just Carmelo shooting jumpers and Spike Lee yelling on the hype video. It was Billy Joel selling it out, and it was throwback clips to boxing matches and like you're in the world's most famous arena. And part of that is because I was in the world's most famous arena, and that it fits, and that's part of the draw. But part of that is because the Knicks been terrible for 25 years. And you've now got a Knicks team that's pretty good and has a path because of the upsets we've seen in the Eastern Conference. And seeing that team play in the Garden in a playoff game is cooler to me than seeing a playoff game in Miami or Milwaukee. It's cooler than seeing a playoff game in Phoenix. It doesn't mean everything, and the court still looks the same, but MSG is on fire. That town is obsessed with the Knicks, and they have been atrocious for way too long. And I don't think they're going to win the title, but it is cool to see a historic venue with a desperate fan base that's deep and passionate getting fired up to watch these games. And they don't like the Heat either. So while the historical factor of LeBron and Steph still plays to me, the cool nature of MSG finally bumping and not being totally out of gas by January because they're 25 games out and not any good again because James Dolan's one of the worst owners in sports, like there's something positive about that. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on the NBA on this show. Moving forward, we got a lot of college baseball to talk about, and we're about to do a segment on college football quarterbacks in May because that's what drives the bus around here. But we've gotten to a point where we've got some intrigue and some underdog stories with some of the all-time greats. I think it's a nice little blend for the NBA, so we'll see what goes on tonight. When we come back, Pro Football Focus, as I just teased, came out with the highest-graded returning quarterbacks in college football. I think you'll be interested to hear who's number one on that list next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
FanDuel is the only sportsbook app where you can bet the Kentucky Derby. It's happening this Saturday, and right now all customers can get a no-sweat Derby bet up to $20. That means you'll get up to $20 back if your bet doesn't win. There are great promotions like this on FanDuel each and every day. It is safe, it is secure, and the best part, when you win, you get paid instantly. So bet America's #1 race this Saturday with America's #1 sportsbook. Just visit racing.fanduel.com/1045ESPN for your chance to get a no-sweat Derby bet up to $20 this Saturday for the Kentucky Derby. That's racing.fanduel.com/1045ESPN. Must be 21 and reside in Louisiana. Offer valid on first Derby win wager. Verified FanDuel Racing account required. Refund issues knowledgeable racing site. Credit expires 6/12/23. Restrictions apply. See terms at racing.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Turn my music high, 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 yeah.
You don't know what you're doing.
Sure I do. I'm from the streets where the hood can swallow on me. Bullets will follow on me. There's so much that you could run the slalom. And cops comb this top to bottom. They say that we are prone to violence, but it's home sweet home. With personalities clashing, chrome meets chrome. Prices up and down like this Wall Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. So few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756.
Charles Andrew, join us for the Wednesday edition of Handy Time. We take a look back at LSU and Southeastern. Scott Rabelais is with us, and we do first class, second class, no class. Handy Time, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Sharif Ishak with us in 14 minutes, talking Saints draft. So I've teased this. Pro Football Focus put out its grades for the quarterbacks returning to college football this coming season. Of course, this is in the wake of the draft. Now those guys have moved on. And what is left? And I told you you'd be interested to know who was number one on that list. Was it Jaden Daniels? It is not Jaden Daniels. He is not number one. He's not your quarterback here in Baton Rouge. Is it the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams? It is not. He's not ranked first. Sam Hartman, a lot of buzz. Is he first? No. Well, what about Michael Penix? He threw for a lot of yards. It was at Washington. No, not Michael Penix. Bo Nix got some Heisman buzz last year at Oregon. Is it Bo Nix? Not Bo Nix. Oh, Drake May going to be the first pick in the draft. Is it Drake May? It's not Drake May. The number one returning quarterback in terms of Pro Football Focus grades is Jordan Travis of the Florida State Seminoles. This is something I've actually said in the last couple of weeks, and it is something you will hear a lot from me in August. I spent all of August last year looking at Florida State highlights, watching that first game they played, saying, you know, it's a pretty talented team, and their quarterback, Jordan Travis, is a pretty good player. Not all that fast, doesn't have a very big arm, and yeah, he's not deadly accurate, but, you know, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's a pretty good player. That's what I said last August. This August, I'm going to tell you I'm terrified of Jordan Travis. He was absolutely surgical last year in the Superdome on third downs. Could not get him off the field. And really played well throughout the rest of the season for Florida State. I think 1 to 22 and 1 to 85, LSU's probably got an edge on Florida State. I don't claim to know Florida State's roster up and down. We'll get there. I know Verse is back, and we'll get to breaking down Florida State's roster when that time comes. That's not today. But their quarterback is good enough to beat LSU, and I'm just telling you that. I don't need to see the rest of the depth chart. I've seen him. He's good enough on a given night to beat LSU. Now, I kind of like the guy LSU's got a quarterback too, and I think the roster that this team has put together and the coaching staff that LSU has is going to put LSU in a great position in that game. And we'll pick winners and losers when that time comes. But Jordan Travis is damn good. And there's a reason he is graded first in the returning quarterbacks in college football. I'll give you the rest of the list and kind of some thoughts. Caleb Williams is number 2. little surprised. I mean, he's only 0.1 behind Jordan Travis, who's 91.7, Caleb Williams 91.6, and incidentally going down just one more decimal point at 91.5 is Drake May. So those are your top three, Travis, Williams, and May. I think by everyone's account, Williams and May are the likely first two picks in the draft. Sometimes that works out. Sometimes it doesn't. I think, was it Jamison, Mariota that were kind of thought of that way, and it turned out that way. But sometimes things happen in a draft year. Joe Burrow coming out of nowhere comes to mind. And then number 4 surprised me. I think he's a good player. And we didn't see him last year. But I'm surprised he graded out this high, and that's KJ Jefferson at Arkansas at number 4. Number 5 is where you find Jaden Daniels. So Jaden rated the second best quarterback in the SEC by Pro Football Focus behind KJ Jefferson. I'm curious to watch KJ Jefferson this year because I thought that their offense was pretty well designed when you look at what Kendall Briles did. Now, when they played LSU and KJ Jefferson was out, they could have been out there for 2 years and they wouldn't have scored. But I thought Kendall Briles did a pretty good job. He's moved on. We'll see what can be done with Dan Enos, who I thought was good 10 years ago at Arkansas. What is he now? I don't know. But Jefferson's a good player. I'm just wondering how much he's going to run, because you run that much, you're kind of asking for it. Jaden's 5th. I'll just kind of go back to the thing like, okay, I think a lot of people in Baton Rouge are like, oh, I don't know about this. I kind of like Nussmeier. I want to throw 5th best quarterback in the country returning by PFF. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good spot to be in, to have your quarterback ranked in the top 5 entering this coming season. He's in front of Sam Hartman at 6, in front of Michael Penix at 7, in front of Dylan Gabriel at 8, Bo Nix at 9. I'm shocked, and I haven't seen this kid play really at all since I watched him in Starkville. But Garrett Schrader is number 10. He's at Syracuse now. He looked like Matt Jones, the old Arkansas quarterback, when LSU played him a couple years ago, just kind of running. He couldn't really throw, just fast and tall and lanky. It looked like Matt Jones to me. For him to be 10 is crazy. But what you notice at this, and I know that Bryce Young's gone and Stetson Bennett's gone, and that matters, but those are quarterback competitions in Tuscaloosa and Athens, and things are not settled. And in Baton Rouge, they are. You've settled in as Jaden Daniels, your starting quarterback, and your backup didn't go anywhere. And I think a lot of people feel pretty good about him. Barrett Salee, our guy from over there at CBS. He put out his SEC after spring rankings. He had Georgia 1, LSU 2, Bama 3. I think you can get used to that. I continue to see stuff like this that paints LSU in a really positive light nationally. Been a couple years off. This last 2 years in 20 and 21 were not good, and they got it back on track this past year. But I think a lot of people nationally and regionally are going to have a lot of positive things to say about LSU in this offseason. And I think a lot of you will roll your eyes and say, well, they better, but it doesn't always happen. We are always going to think more of LSU's team than the national folks do in the summer. That's optimism season. I've said it and said it and said it and said it. And optimism season's coming. About to get the strength coach doing some shows. This guy's in the best shape of his life. Coaches hit that coaching caravan. They speak to big crowded rooms about this guy's running this speed and this guy's fully healthy and ready to go. And they feel like the culture's the best it's ever been. And the team's got a chip on its shoulder. And it's optimism season. That's always going to take place here in Baton Rouge. I'm just telling you, it's going on around us too. And that's the same thing as I go to when I started the show with that Keith Law piece from The Athletic on LSU's baseball players, because we all know that Paul Skeens is the best pitcher in the country, and we all know that Dylan Cruz is a good player that's come through here, and we see them. But what is the national perspective? And when you get something like that, I think it just illuminates it. And when I see stories like this that have Jaden Daniels rated as the 5th quarterback coming back to college football, and I know that it's done by Pro Football Focus, who doesn't have any vested interest in LSU, that's a really cool thing and makes me feel really good about the summer to come and the fall to come. Got to get Preston Guy on from Tiger Baits soon, because he wrote a story that he tweeted out earlier today, said that 10-2 kind of feels like the floor. That seems a little strong for me. The floor is the bottom. That's as bad as it can get. I don't think 10-2 is as bad as it can get for LSU, but I do think they're going to be good. And that just brings it back in, because Preston's a guy from here. Pro Football Focus, that just guys grading film. They think LSU's pretty good. And oh, by the way, they think Jordan Travis is very good. And I'm going to be terrified about him for the next 3 months. That Superdome performance is burned in my brain. There are your Pro Football Focus grades. You can check that out at PFF_college on Twitter if you want to go check out that list. Another reminder, get on out to Pluckers tonight, 8:30 sports trivia. Be watching the NBA playoffs, watching LSU Southeastern, watching the Cubs game, and playing some sports trivia. There are 5 rounds, 5 questions in each round. First place in each round gets 15 Pluckers dollars. Second place gets 5 Pluckers dollars. You come out of there with a couple of firsts and a couple of seconds. You're talking about $40. Don't pay for your drinks. Pay for the dinner. And it's a lot of fun. So grab a team, come out to the Pluckers on Nicholson for some sports trivia. We do it every single Tuesday at 8:30. Quick little transition before we get to Sharif. An announcement came out today from LSU that Brian Polian would no longer be with the football program. Brian Polian has accepted an athletic director job at his alma mater, John Carroll University. Polian, of course, was the first hire that Brian Kelly made. He was brought in to help manage the transfer portal and be a recruiting coordinator. He was also the special teams coordinator. Special teams did not go very well, if you'll remember. And so they made a move there. They were going to put him in the general manager role, basically monitor the transfer portal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, make sure that the recruiting boards are filled up and ready to roll, put everything and be organized in that way. And Polian was set up to do that, and then I think got this offer from John Carroll University. I will say this. I've interviewed Brian Polian one time for 3 minutes for a pregame show. I don't know him. I've been around him one time. But I will say this. An athletic director role is one where your family can move there and settle down. And that is just so rare in the coaching world. You're so migrant. You can't plant your roots anywhere. And actually, in his tweet of saying goodbye, he mentions that it's the right choice for our family and where our children are in their lives. We're excited to set down roots and serve at a place that we love. And I just think that's such a big deal. Listen to, and this is something I think about all the time when I think about coaching, and they know when they sign up for it what they're getting into. But Jake Peets, former offensive coordinator here at LSU, has like 5 or 6 kids. Here's what he's done over the last 10 years. Alabama offensive analyst in 1 year in Tuscaloosa. Washington Redskins quality control, moves to Washington, D.C. Oakland Raiders senior offensive analyst, moves to Oakland. He was there for another year and then another, so 3 years at Oakland as quarterbacks coach. Then moves back to Alabama as an analyst in 2018. Then takes a job with Carolina in 2019 in Charlotte. Stays there in Charlotte, then back to Baton Rouge for a year for LSU, then to Los Angeles. That is Tuscaloosa to D.C. to Oakland to Tuscaloosa to Charlotte to Baton Rouge to Los Angeles in 10 years with 6 kids. That is, it's a labor of love. They love to do it. It pays well. But that's a tough thing to do. And so to have this opportunity Brian Polian has to go be an athletic director in a place that means a lot to him and maybe set up shop for 10 years, that's a great opportunity for Brian Polian. So I know special teams were not super awesome last year, but the guy worked hard. Brian Kelly trusted him. He had a great attitude when I talked to him in that pregame interview about special teams. He said, look, we hadn't been good enough, but we're going to get better. And people may be rolling their eyes and maybe saying, get this guy out of town that was atrocious special teams. And that's fine. But I do think there's something to be spoken for in talking about coaches, as migrant as they are, getting an opportunity to be an athletic director and just drop an anchor for a minute, which these guys just never get to do seemingly. So Brian Polian moving on. LSU, of course, already filled that on-field role, and we'll kind of look elsewhere as recruiting and transfer portal are the lifeblood and very, very important. But you won't have him at the top of the food chain doing that anymore. All right, Sharif Ishak when we come back. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. You'll see testimonials of the great work David Duvall and his team have done. You'll see some of the pictures of the great work they have done. I can promise you this when you work with One Bath and Closets. They're going to come in. They're going to start your process off with a questionnaire. They're going to understand what you want, what you've got, and they'll put together a customized plan for you and your closet. Maybe it's a deal where you've got to take your whole closet out and build out a new one. Maybe you've got the space, you're just not using it properly, and they can help you out with just some simple things, some drawers, some cubbies, some bins, some lights. They can do that. They can customize a closet to your need. And the best part, when you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you to One Bath and Closets, they're not going to charge you to rip out your current closet. They're not going to charge you for the labor to install the new one. They're just going to charge you for the cost of that unit. Bathroom, they can do a full-scale renovation, start to finish if you want. They can also do something simple like a tub-to-shower conversion where they take out that bathtub and put in a gorgeous walk-in glass shower to totally change the aesthetic and feel of your bathroom. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Check them out, OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. LSU baseball hits the road to take on Southeastern. We're previewing Tigers and Lions. We'll continue our SEC spring recaps and draft reaction Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jim's Firearms Hotlines, where we're headed. Sharif Ishak, WDSU, is our guest. Sharif, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. All right, Brian Brzee, we haven't talked to you since then. Did we talk to you on Friday? I can't even remember now. I don't think we did.
No.
All right, how was it?
Tuesday. I thought it was a solid draft. I mean, overall, Brian Brzee, that's one of the guys I mentioned to you last Tuesday that they would probably take at 29. The one word that comes, or two words that come to mind are address needs. I mean, that's exactly what they did with 7 picks. They did exactly what we thought many would do, that they were going to go out there and give guys a plug in the gaps and build some depth in a few positions. But I like Brian Brzee. You get a guy who's athletic at 6'5", 200, 90, 95 pounds. I know the stats aren't there, but Dennis Allen said, don't look at the stats. Look at everything else he can do.
You got to remake that entire defensive front, and they added to that in the second round where they took Isaiah Foskey, who I actually think looks like maybe a little bit better player than Brian Brzee. Obviously, statistically, that is the case, and it's a different position, but I loved the Foskey pick.
Love it. My favorite pick of the entire draft was Isaiah Foskey. If you look at his RAS scores, now don't get freaked out. His RAS scores, his size are the same as Marcus Davenport, but he has played against far better competition. You don't lead Notre Dame in all-time sacks by accident. 11 sacks in each of the last 2 seasons, 5 blocked punts in his career. I would say it's pretty good. 26.5 tackles for loss the last 2 seasons. That's because, of course, the 22 sacks, but he can get after it. He's athletic. He can go sideline to sideline, and that 4.5 speed is going to really give some versatility to that defensive line that desperately needs it. But by far, that is my favorite pick of the draft. I loved Isaiah Foskey, and I loved his length. That's exactly what they needed for this defensive line. Both guys are going to be contributors.
Yeah, I mean, that's what my next question was. Usually in the first and second round, you're trying to draft starters. Do you think that the Saints have 2 starters there?
I think eventually they will. I think if you can get them 30 to 45 snaps a game, that's awesome. I mean, that's exactly what this defense could use. They need bodies, Hunt. I mean, look, Cam Jordan is going to be 34 this July. You got Tano Passanio, Malcolm Roach, Peyton Turner. We don't know what he's going to be like. He was a healthy scratch quite a bit in his career so far. They've got to figure it out. Carl Granderson, he emerged a lot last season. So they have those guys, and then they added Shepard and Saunders, and now the 2 draft picks. So if you can get them to 30 to 45 a game, that's awesome. You just build them in. You work their way in, and I think Tom Bantam will find a way to use them really well.
Kendre Miller, running back in the 3rd round. How does he fit?
Love it. Another one that I love. I'm not. You're going to hear me say the word love a lot because they went out and got the picks that I think, like I told you, they needed to add some depth at a lot of those positions. There are a couple that they didn't get a chance to address, but Kendre Miller, I don't think he's going to do OTAs because of his MCL sprain, so we'll see whenever he actually takes part in any kind. I don't think it'll happen until training camp, but once rushed for 1,400 yards and 17 touchdowns by accident. He's one cut and boom. I mean, he's got the speed. He'll run 15 pounds. Alvin and Jamal are 28. They needed to find somebody else. Who knows what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara? I mean, it feels like he's going to get suspended. If not, that would be a Christmas miracle, honestly. But if you have all 3 of those guys eventually in the lineup, you get him. Now, he didn't really do much in the passing game. That's the one thing, and they didn't really use him much in the passing game, but he assures everyone that he could do it. He compared himself to Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara.
In the 4th round, they go with Nick Saldiveri. At the same time, in the course of a week, they've declined the option on Cesar Ruiz's contract. So feels safe to say that that's an interior reserve that is looking like a starter in next season.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Speed, I think it's more of like, taking over for Andrew Speed. Let's see what happened with Cesar Ruiz. If he builds on what he did last year and he's healthy, they're going to give him the extension, which I think is the smart move. You don't extend him, and you just want to see how good he's going to be, because a lot of times you've seen the Saints do that. Guy has one good season, they don't extend him. They extend him, and it's like, oh, my God, why did we do that? But now, Nick Saldiveri gives them that option. He can play tackle. He can play guard. He had 34 starts at tackle, but he did play a lot up and down that line. And I think you're going to see him kick inside quite a bit. And I would say his whole career will be inside. You can play him at center, too. And I think last season he didn't give up a sack. So I know it's Old Dominion, but they've done well with finding guys from small schools. Jermon Bushrod, Jari Evans, I think those two guys worked out really well for the Saints.
Terran Armstead, pretty good player as well. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jake Haener, quarterback. How about that pick?
I mean, if you talk to Fletcher might talk to you for 30 minutes about Jake Haener because he had him in like 5 mock drafts. Look, I get it. You know, he loves Drew Brees. He was a Saints fan growing up. He said it multiple times on the Zoom with us. He worked a lot with Derek Carr, those guys. You know, he's a tough guy. Tough, man. He played through some injuries, put up some stats, started at Washington, then he went to Fresno. You know, I don't like the comparison. I really think it's lazy. And you know where I'm going with, because they're the same size. Look, I get it. No one's going to ever be Drew Brees.
Nope.
It's hard to compare anyone to Drew Brees. But I think, you know, he's going to be a serviceable quarterback down the line. Good backup. Has a chance to learn from Jameis and Derek. That's a good thing. You need to address that because, you know, after this year, they may move on from Jameis. And at least you have a backup now.
That's probably what it feels like. All right, what's the tight end situation? I realized Troutman wanted out of town. What are they going to do there?
You know, they used that pick to get A.T. Perry, who I also really like a lot. They get a guy who can make contested catches, 26 touchdowns, 2,300 yards the last 2 seasons. That's a very good pick. We'll see if he can go over the middle. But, yes, tight end and running and linebacker, 2 positions, they couldn't address in the draft. And I think this is going to go through free agency, especially with tight end. Maybe they have somebody via – I mean, I don't – you know, Hunt, I don't think Zach Vaughn's the answer. I really don't think Zach Vaughn's the answer. They need to find somebody when it comes to linebacker. You only get 2 guys. Pete Werner is productive, but he also is hurt a lot. So they got to find someone else. Tight end, I think it's going to be through free agency. I know Foster Moreau, they were hoping to bank on that, but an unfortunate situation when he got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So, yeah, I'd say maybe Cameron Brate, maybe if he's out there. I mean, I have to go look at the list, but they need to address that in a very bad way. Both positions, I think, even though they got a couple guys via undrafted free agency, Nick Anderson and I think Anthony Orji from Vanderbilt. So at least they got options, but they need to address that in free agency.
Are you surprised they didn't take a tight end? I thought they would.
I really did. I thought that they would take it. I really think if Dalton Kincaid was there, 29, they would have taken it. If Brzee and Murphy were off the board, I think Dalton Kincaid would have been their pick. And I think if Michael Mayer would have dropped to 40, that would have been their pick. They just miss, you know, I've said this, you know, Derek Carr really likes to work with tight ends. I mean, with Waller and Morrow, they had those 2 guys. He needs another tight end. Juwan Johnson is, you know, is a tweener.
Yeah.
He's awesome. I mean, he could do both, but they need to go get Derek another tight end. I mean, it's in there. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, Troutman's gone. He's at the Broncos. I mean, you lose one and you don't draft one. But it has to be addressed here in the next couple of weeks.
Do you feel any differently about the Saints today than you did a week ago?
Yeah, a little bit. I really thought they were already a solid team and had a solid draft. I know everyone likes to put a grade on draft. To me, every year is always incomplete. I need 2 or 3 years to see what the draft class is. So, but I feel better. I always feel better after you have a solid draft class, and that's what they had. So, you know, they should be the favorites in the division. I mean, they have the best team from top to bottom. So I feel good. I feel like they could be the team that can win that bad division.
All right, Sharif, we appreciate the time, man.
All right, man. I can't wait to see what LSU does whenever that bullpen fixes its situation and maybe get a second starter because they're going to outslug everyone regardless.
Oh, they're just going to hit. That's what they're going to do. That's what it's going to look like. They're just going to hit.
Absolutely.
See you later, Sharif.
Later.
He is Sharif Ishak, WDSU, talking all things Saints. I said it yesterday. I like the Saints draft. There are plenty of times where I scratch my head at some of the things that the Saints do. I think that's the case for everybody. But one of the times I scratched my head, I thought the Saints had 3 running backs on the roster, and they traded up and got Alvin Kamara, and I thought they were nuts for doing that, and how'd that work out? So I'm secure enough to say, hey, I'm not exactly a guru on draft picks, but this one does make a lot of sense. Maybe all these guys stink. Maybe 2 of them go to the Hall of Fame. I don't know. But it makes sense, the guys that they pulled in, and I think Sharif kind of feels the same way about it as well. All right, we'll take one more timeout, come back and close things up. We'll take it or leave it. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. We've been telling you about Robert Jackson, Dr. Robert Jackson, founder of the MLK Health Center and Pharmacy up in Shreveport, my hometown. It's Northwest Louisiana's oldest free clinic and pharmacy. The clinic provides over $16 million in services to over 1,700 patients a year. The clinic operates at no expense to the patient, returns an average of $25 to the community for every $1 invested in the center. Dr. Robert Jackson, truly a champion of Louisiana. If you know of a champion of Louisiana, like Dr. Jackson, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana. Whether it's a nonprofit organization, maybe it's a person, maybe it's a business that does great philanthropic work here in Louisiana. We want to tell their story, and LWCC gives us the platform to do so. So Dr. Robert Jackson is our champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
What's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a
me, Jimmy Ott and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday edition of Game Time. Game Time from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. It's Game Time Tuesday night, 6 to 8 p.m. right here, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Saw Kim Mulkey up in Manhattan today, ringing the bell, the closing bell for the New York Stock Exchange. So cool stuff happens to you when you win the national championship. Speaking of basketball coaches, LSU head men's basketball coach Matt McMahon going to join me on the show tomorrow at 1:30. He's out on the road recruiting, as you would imagine, because that's really all college basketball coaches do anymore. But he's out there recruiting, but he's got a little bit of time for us at 1:30 tomorrow. So very much looking forward to chatting with Coach McMahon about the total rebuild of this roster that he's undergoing. So we'll chat with him tomorrow at 1:30. All right, let's do some take it or leave it. Jacob Beck.
ESPN is releasing a 4-part documentary on Bill Walton. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Usually those are pretty well done. I don't ever need to listen to Bill Walton call another basketball game in my life.
No.
I don't need it at all. I don't think that the Grateful Dead references and the Conference of Champions and the ridiculous tangents while I'm trying to watch a basketball game, it's just not for me. I'm a little bit of a curmudgeon when it comes to that. I very rarely comment at all on commentators. I don't think any of them hate LSU. I don't think any of them are completely biased or morons. I've never felt bad about Uncle Vern or Gary Danielson. I think all of that's well and good and fine. Bill Walton's more than I can handle. The whole deal with I'm not really paying attention and totally cool dude and awesome. Like, I can't deal with it.
Yeah, he's a character for sure. The Florida Panthers are restricting ticket sales for the Round 2 series to U.S. residents. Doesn't seem like a big deal on the surface, but they are playing the Toronto Maple Leafs, which of course is in Canada. Take it or leave it.
A little torn on this one. I'll take it, sure.
I'll take it.
Look, I think it's a little goofy and when the Cubs take over the Brewers Park up in Milwaukee. It's a quick drive from Chicago. There aren't that many Brewers fans. There are a bajillion Cubs fans. They all drive up and take the stadium over. It drives the Brewers nuts. So they do their best for Cubs games to restrict their sales to Wisconsin residents. However, there are apparently a lot of Great Lakes in Wisconsin. Not the Great Lakes, but there are Great Lakes, and a lot of Illinois residents have lake houses in Wisconsin, so they use those. I know too much about this, but it's not the first time that ticket offices have tried to restrict sales to keep opposing team fans out. There are obviously a lot of Maple Leafs fans. I don't know that the Miami area cares a ton about the Florida Panthers, so I understand it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. Who cares?
Yeah. All right, Tiger Woods and Joey LaCava
are
splitting up as LaCava moves full-time to Patrick Cantley's bag. Tiger knows his time is done. Take it or leave it.
I will take it.
I'll take it.
Look, so when Tiger got hurt, he told Joe LaCava, just go get a job. Like you don't have to worry about me. Go get a job. And Joey was loyal to Tiger. And Tiger paid him the whole time, obviously, because the caddies make money based on on-course earnings. And he just paid him the whole time. And Joey was back on the bag when Tiger came back from injury and won the Masters. And then he tried to come back from this car accident. And Joey's kind of been there when he was ready to go. But Tiger can't play a schedule anymore. And so he can pay Joe, but he's not really working and not really doing anything. And he's playing in 3 majors a year and making the cut in half of them. So I think there's a part of this that's Joe LaCava is still very much a working age guy, and Patrick Cantley and his caddy split up after the Zurich, and there was an opportunity there to play for a top 10 player to caddy for a top 10 player in the world, and Joe LaCava had to take that opportunity, as he'll get to do the traveling deal and he'll make a good amount of money because Cantley's a great player. But I also think Tiger knows and probably told Joey, look, I'm going to hit balls and I'm going to try my best to be the best player I can be. I just don't think it's in there anymore. I really think Tiger knows. I think he believed in his 20s that would never happen. And all this stuff that's happened to him has kind of changed his perspective on this cold-blooded assassin that he was, and now he's got a little bit better perspective, and he's not going to do this thing as a, play until he's 65 years old type of celebrity ambassador of the game type deal. He's just not going to do it. And now I think he knows he can't walk and he can't put the time in to do it. So I think he's that writing's on the wall, and that's why I think Joey's going to Cantley's bag. We'll see. I'm assuming Tiger's not going to take him back for the Masters and make Cantley go get another caddy. Like, that's not going to happen. I think their relationship is over from a professional standpoint. It certainly as a friendship will be there, but it's a big deal, I think, for those that are holding out hope that Tiger's got another run in him. It's just not there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm interested to see what he'll do. I don't know if he's going to play any more majors this year, but we'll see what he does in terms of getting.
I can't imagine he will. He just had surgery again. So.
Yeah. All right. College football playoff released on Tuesday as scheduled for the 12-team format. They're going to be playing a triple header on New Year's Day for the quarterfinals. No games played on Saturday. Weekday college football playoff games. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it around the holidays.
We'll
find a way to make it work. Obviously, we're on the air. A lot of people have work. I mean, I wish we could do a little bit better, but you're not going to go head up against the NFL. No, they never do that, and for good reason. You're going to get your butt kicked in that regard because the country cares far more about the NFL than they do college football. You just got to kind of make it work. I know that a lot of people are cranky about Monday championship games, and people have work on Monday and then work again on Tuesday, and the game's late and all that kind of stuff. At that time of the year, we're all kind of flexible on work, I feel like, and so we'll see. I'll have to assess it after it's over, but it feels like that time of year that's okay, especially on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day because folks have time off. So we'll see. That's it for Take It or Leave It. Thank you, Mr. Beck. If you missed any of the show today, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and on YouTube. Opened up with Keith Law's report on Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz and what that meant to me as a reader when I've read a lot of Keith Law's stuff. It is absolutely glowing about those two. I thought it was really cool. You can find it at The Athletic if you're a subscriber. Previews LSU and Southeastern. Glenn West of Go247 was our guest at his normal 1:30 slot on Tuesdays. My bold predictions for baseball, I made 5. 4 of them are still in play. Gave you a little checkup on that. Talked NBA in the second hour as well as the top returning quarterbacks in all of college football. Jordan Travis, number 1 on that list. Sharif Ishak from WDSU with us as always at 2:30 before Take It or Leave It. Matthew Mann going to join us tomorrow as well as a What If Wednesday in Demouy. Jimmy Yacht's Game Time 6 to 8 tonight. Matt's about to drive you home on AFR. See you tomorrow on Palmer Show.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until